Okay, welcome to the second half podcast. As always, if you're listening to this, that means you made it through another week and margaritas are in order. It's Friday, January 29th. My name is Tom Powell. This is my podcast. And if you're finding me for the first time, let me explain some things about the podcast that are different from what the podcast used to be if you've gone back to try and catch any of my old episodes. So, first things first, the podcast airs every Friday. And that's why I say if you made it through this, that means you made it through another week. It's a Friday podcast. It's supposed to be, it was always meant to be a feel-good Friday podcast. Somewhere along the line, I decided to change that. So I haven't done an episode since March, early March. It's about 10 months since I did one. When we went into quarantine lockdown here in Illinois, I stopped doing podcasts. Just didn't seem like I wanted. I wasn't in the mood to do one. I was trying to figure out, how everything in life was going to work, and I just didn't want to. I didn't want to have this hanging over me and fuck with it. So then I decided to get back into it here after some things that happened in our world, in our country, specifically here in the United States, that said to me, you know what, you got to get back into it and you got to change the way you approach it. So here's the deal. Some of you guys are old listeners, and some of you guys are new listeners. Trying to figure out a setup that works. My apologies. If you're an old listener to the show, one of the things that you remember about the show is that it was a non-political show. That I always kept politics out of the show. I wanted the show and my Facebook page to be a politics-free escape zone. And for 2.5 years or whatever it was, that's exactly what I managed to do. I kept politics out of it. I had one episode of the old shows in which I talked about a local school board issue, and in a few of them I talked about the politics of marijuana legalization, but that's as far as that shit went. No right, left, Republican, Democrat, Trump, non-Trump. I kept it out of it. Even the memes on my page, I kept out of it. It was all non-political, just funny shit. If you still want to follow that page, it's still up and running. It's Old Hippie Media on Facebook. And then the events of January 6th happened. And I said, this has gotten out of hand in this country. I got to get back to doing the podcast because I like doing the podcast, and I got to start adding politics to the podcast. Is it going to be a political podcast? No, it's not going to be a political podcast. It's going to be the same podcast it was before, with some political conversation thrown in. It's just too fucking important to ignore it anymore on all my platforms, right? And the people on TikTok who are coming to this podcast for the first time and going, well, wait a minute, that's all he talks about on TikTok is politics. Yeah, on my personal social media pages, my personal Facebook, my personal Twitter, my personal TikTok, I talk politics. On my page, my Old Hippie Media page on Facebook, I didn't. I tried to separate the two. But when we cross from a disagreement on policy into full-blown treason and insurrection, when we cross over from reasonable discourse, even heated discourse, into, no, I'm going to fucking hang you in front of the Capitol building, live on Facebook, it is now too big to ignore anymore. So, Old Hippie Media and this podcast are going to begin incorporating my personal political viewpoints. Some of you are no longer going to want to listen to the program as a result. Some of you are going to be like, yep, that's exactly what I wanted out of you. I found you on TikTok for that, and that's what I came here for. And I'll explain why I keep mentioning TikTok in just a minute. Let me explain some more things that are different for both the new and old listeners. First of all, the name of the show. The name of the show used to be the Tom Powell Jr. Show. I changed it to the Second Half Podcast. Why did I change it to the Second Half Podcast? Well, This podcast is essentially rants and ramblings of a Gen X hippie who's in the second half of his life, 48 years old. I am in the second half of my life. And to quote comedian Bill Gardell, I played a sloppy first half. So that's what you're going to get with this podcast. You're going to get takes on news stories and the happenings of the world as seen by a Gen X hippie in the second half of his life. So that's why I came up with the second half podcast. Had the nice little logo created, and we push on. You will notice that this episode has no intro or outro music like the other ones did. The other music, which were actual commercially licensed songs, we were allowed to use snippets of, and we still are, on the Anchor platform where I record my podcasts. But a local musician, a local artist, is recording original intro and outro songs for this podcast for me. He's an extraordinarily busy gentleman. He teaches at a school. He runs a local business. He plays in two bands. He's a very busy man, but he's come up with some original music for the intro and the outro that I think you guys are going to like, and we're going to get that incorporated as soon as he's done with it, and that's going to be new to the show. It's going to be original work in the show for the first time. And for what else is new is I am, for the first time, attempting to, anyway, record this podcast in video format as well for YouTube, which I haven't done before. If this works, if this is successful, we'll record all future podcasts. So you'll be able to listen to them in your car in audible version, or if you're more of a video content consumer, it'll be on YouTube for you. So that's what's different about the podcast. We're going to start talking politics. We've got a different name, slightly different format. But other than that, it's the same guy, the same bullshit, the same podcast. Now, for those of you who found me for the first time, specifically those of you coming, or not specifically, but mainly those of you coming from TikTok, what was the podcast before? What did I used to talk about, if not politics? Basically all the stupid shit that was going on in the world. I would find weird news stories and give you my opinion and take on them. A couple of them that stick out, just as an example. There was a news story one time about a guy in Miami who climbed up a traffic light pole and then shimmied out onto the arm of the traffic pole and proceeded to shit into open convertibles on the road below him. You know, I would find stories like that and you know, oh, I gotta fucking talk about that on Friday. One was an Instagram influencer who dressed up like baby dolls and sent vials of her bath water to her followers if they paid for them, and they would drink them and then get sick and go to the hospital. Stupid shit like that. So, now that we've gotten what's new out of the way, usually how I start the podcast, I come in, I tell you, welcome to the podcast. If you're listening to this, you made it through another week, blah, 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 blah. Tell you to hit the website, which I'll tell you to do in a minute. And then we go right into what's been happening this week. And that's when I start the stories. So that's where we're going to transition to now for the new folks. Before I get into the stories of what's been going on that I want to talk about on this episode, I do encourage you to swing by my website. It's oldhippiemedia.com. oldhippiemedia.com. It's just basically a dumping ground for all things about me. You're going to find pictures of my family, pictures of my vacations, pictures of my pets. You're going to find a link to this podcast. You're going to find links on where you can buy my first two books. A Grateful Life, the life story of a husband, father, and taco-loving deadhead, which is this tale of my first 45 years in life. My childhood, the severe physical abuse I suffered at the hands of my mother, dropping out of high school, following the Grateful Dead for 4 years, becoming a landscaper, retiring early, marrying, having kids, taking care of my father in the last years of his life, all of that good shit. And then this is more of a comical book. It's Dearest Renee, Letters from the Coronavirus War of 2020. You're going to be able to find both of these books in paperback and ebook formats at the website, oldhippiemedia.com. I have a blog. I don't do much with the blog, but I do from time to time write blog pieces. You'll find the blog there. You'll find links to all of my different video content. Okay, why do I keep talking about TikTok? Well, Facebook was my primary social media outlet. Did a little bit on Twitter, a little bit on Instagram, very little on YouTube. Facebook was it. It's where my family and friends were. I got a little bit of an audience there with my page, not much, 3,200 followers. I kept getting bans, right? I got the 3-hour ban, the 5-hour ban, the 12-hour ban, the 24-hour ban, 3-day, 5-day, 7-day, and then they locked me up for a month. 30-day ban. Like, what the fuck? You know, it just. And I was already getting bans in Twitter because I don't play nice with others. Not very cooperative with Trumpers. And so Facebook gave me another ban for some stupid shit. Somebody posted an article in a Star Wars fan page on Facebook about a new Star Wars animated series, and they were proud of the fact that the executive director or the producer, I can't remember who, was a lesbian woman. You know, finally some representation, right? And some homophobic cunt nugget came in there and said something to the effect of, well, it's not going to have anything to do with the actual Star Wars story. It's just going to be fags making out for an hour. And because I don't have a filter and I like fucking with deplorables, I replied to his comment and I said, cry harder for us. And that was cyberbullying. Not the fag comment, right? Cry harder for us. 30-day ban. So I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. I'm getting so tired of this fucking platform. And I was salty as shit. I went on Twitter and I called Laura Ingraham a hag. I mean, who hasn't? And I got a lifetime ban from Twitter. So in the same week, I got a 30-day ban from Facebook. And I got a lifetime ban from Twitter. Something Donald Trump and I have in common. I am never allowed to have a Twitter account as long as I live. And since I did very little on Instagram and it was so tied into Facebook, I was like, I got to find another outlet. Maybe video content is the way to go. Instead of typing my thoughts on political topics and social topics on Facebook, maybe I'll just make videos of me talking about them. So I went over to TikTok to check it out. I started a TikTok account on like December 10th, December 11th, somewhere in there. And I don't know, we're 50,000 followers, a couple, 2-3 million views in videos. The word obviously spreads much better in TikTok than it does on any of the other social media platforms. So like, okay, we're gonna keep going with this. So I was still on Facebook, but very minimal on Facebook. Nothing on Twitter, obviously. I can't remember the last time I even logged into Instagram. And I'm trying to make video content now for TikTok, and I'm uploading it to YouTube. So that's why I kept bringing up TikTok. A lot of the new following that I have for the thoughts that I have are originating in TikTok. It's actually quite a fascinating little app. And I like it a lot. But I digress. So that's why I keep mentioning TikTok. Anyway, what the hell's been going on in the world? Let's talk about some things in the world. You have to forgive me. I'm slightly salty. Because I'm actually supposed to be in Jamaica right now. I'm recording this a couple of days ahead of Friday. But you're going to hear it on Friday. And so I'm going to talk to you as if it was Friday. Today's supposed to be my last day in Jamaica. And while I love my home office, I like all my mini guitars, my lava lamp, my books, the skulls of my enemies, the map of places I've been, my music wall. While I love my surroundings that I've created here, it's clearly not Jamaica. And that's making for a very salty time. Every year, first world problems, I admit, every year we go down to Jamaica for 10 days. In January, we stay at the Sandals Resort in Ocho Rios. We stay in the Romeo and Juliet suite. We get a private pool, a private hot tub, private outdoor shower, 2 butlers at our disposal, and we're pampered for 10 days, right? I go up to the top of Mount Zion every year. First day we're in town, I pay my respects at the final resting place of Bob Marley. That's where I got these 2 Bob Marley carvings that you see on the wall behind me was in Ocho Rios, Jamaica. I pick up some of that great Mount Zion herb for the week. And then for the rest of the week, we chill at the beach, skinny dip in our private pool, smoke fine herb, eat brownies, and enjoy each other, right? Just chill. And COVID fucked that up. COVID's actually fucked up 3 vacations for us this year. We were supposed to go with the family in August to Mexico. We were supposed to go, my wife and I, on a 4-day trip to New Orleans to see the sights in October. And then, of course, our annual January Jamaica trip. Costa Rica was supposed to be this August. I was hoping to get to San Francisco or Seattle with my wife this summer. And I just don't know how much of this is actually going to become reality with COVID still raging, because we have 40% of the fucking population that thinks that they're sovereign citizens and that Walmart can't make them wear a mask. So onward we push with the pandemic, battling the forces of stupidity every day and hoping that it gets better. And little by little it is. But the fact of the matter is, I am not in Jamaica. I am in the suburbs of Chicago in January, coming to you from my home office rather than my private pool. In fact, if you want to put a cherry on the sundae, let me tell you about something that happened to me this week. Instead of enjoying fine Mount Zion herb this week, instead of relaxing in my private pool and eating at 5-star restaurants every night, I had my first prostate exam this week. Yeah. Been avoiding that one for a minute. Okay, folks? For a minute. Hey, you're 40. You should... Nah, I'm good. Hey, you're 45. You should... Nah. Exit only, pal. But I had to see a urologist. As I said, I'm 48 and a half. Shit's starting to break down. It happens, right? It's not breaking down. It's just not responding like it used to. Not sexually, from a urination standpoint. I know, too much information. Fuck you, it's my podcast. So, yeah, I'm like, Doc, I'm getting up 10 times a fucking night to go to the bathroom. I go to stand in front of the toilet. It takes a minute. From time to time, I'll even leak. The fuck's going on? So, I'm in the room with them. They're like, well, we're going to get some blood work. Okay, blood work, fine, happens. They did a little ultrasound of my bladder. I said it felt empty. It looked empty. Everything was good. Talking to this doctor. Now, let me pause my story here to tell you that the doctor was a very handsome gentleman. Rugged individual. Very tall Asian fellow. Broad shoulders. Just a good-looking guy. Had me mesmerized in the conversation, right? He had me hanging on every word. It's like one of those doctors that takes the needle and plays with it with the baby and gets the baby not afraid of the needle, and before you know it, boop, the baby's got the shot, right? You've seen a million of these videos, right? Well, there my dumbass is, sitting there in my Grateful Dead shirt. Hey, Doc, what's happening? Just happy as a fucking clam. He's talking to me. Next thing I know, stand up. Okay, what are we doing, Doc? Stand up. He's fucking talking to me. Next thing I know, he's got a rubber glove on, and my ball sack is in his hand. And I'm like, wow, you're smooth. That happened fast. Like, I was almost appalled at how easily I just gave it up. And so, and here's the thing about it. He was still talking about, we were talking about, like the art in the room was all Harley themed, right? And I was like, where do these prints come from? Where do these pictures come from? We're still having that conversation, only now I have a 6'3" beautiful man holding my nutsack. Yeah, once again, not Jamaica. Anywho, as we proceed, and he's lifting and looking and feeling stuff, and I'm like, okay, That, I mean, it happened fast, right? It was. Next thing I know, he says, "Just put your hands there," and I'm obeying orders without thinking about what the orders are because I'm still trying to figure out how he got my pants off so quickly and had my nards in his hand in the blink of an eye. So before I know it, I've got my hands on the examining table as if I'm in an episode of Real Cops. My pants are around my fucking ankle. And my hands are over here. And he is putting on another glove. I can hear it from the sound that it makes behind me. And it then snaps into my head what's about to happen. And I say, "What are we doing, Doc?" And he says, "We're going to check out your prostate." Now, when I say he moves fast, I'm not shitting you when I say this. I then replied with, "Does that mean you're going in? Is that what you're trying to tell me?" And before I could get out the word "me" in "tell me," he was in. He was in there. Fast. I'm talking uber fucking smooth. Happened within boom, 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 boom. Okay? And I felt like Chevy Chase. Honestly, I did. I was in Fletch. You know, I was like, Moon River. You know, I mean, the best way I can describe it is he's not exactly Trump. Okay, he's not sporting the tiny hands. Okay, he had some fucking hands on him. He had some mitts on him. And before I know it, he's up there checking shit out. First time that's ever happened in my life. So, while I'm trying to comprehend not only the fact that there's a man in my ass, but there's a man in my ass still talking to me about Harley Davidson decor, while I'm trying to put all of that together, he does the exam, finishes up, takes the glove off, and leaves me standing there with my pants around my ankle, confused, like I'm getting ready to do the walk of shame. I'm like, what just, how, what did it, damn, you were smooth. Damn. So, while it needed to be done, while I'm beginning to have a few medical issues in that area, and while there are still more tests that need to be run, not exactly how the week was supposed to go. You know what I mean? Not exactly how it was supposed to go. So, in my saltiness of the fact that I'm not in Jamaica, the fact that I'm not smoking that fine Mountain Zion herb, the fact that I'm not knocking boots in my private pool at 3 o'clock in the fucking afternoon, because that's what the fuck we want to do. I took my frustrations, I bundled them up, I sprinkled a little bit of fine herb on top of them, and I took to social media. And began arguing with people on all sorts of topics, primarily on TikTok, my new social media app of choice. And so, for those of you who followed me over here from TikTok and are listening to the podcast, let's talk about a couple of these topics. On a fun note, some of you guys came at me pretty fucking hard over my biscuits and gravy view. I made a video saying that biscuits and gravy was hot garbage, and some of my followers, some of the people who enjoy almost all of my content, came after me. All in fun. But I'd like to discuss it if I could here briefly, just a brief segment here if we could. I said what I said. You can come at me if you want to. But biscuits and gravy is indeed hot garbage. It is. It's fucking slop. I wouldn't feed it to fucking prisoners. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't use it as slop to feed it to the hogs. It's that fucking bad. I have never been able to understand the fascination with biscuits and gravy. Now, admittedly, I'm not a huge breakfast guy to begin with, right? When my wife and I first got together, we used to hit this like little Greek joint called Omega. on Sunday mornings. And she would get her breakfast, whatever that would be, whether that would be French toast or pancakes or waffles or omelets. A lot of skillets back in the day, a lot of skillets. And I would always go in for a burger and fries. I don't give a fuck that it's 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning. We go with the cream of chicken soup, nice plate of saganaki, burger and fries. My mouth is actually starting to water thinking about it right now. So I'm not really much on breakfast to begin with. I do enjoy a good pancake, French toast, occasionally a waffle, a little bit of eggs, bacon over sausage kind of guy, but I am a big fan of a sausage muffin. But biscuits and gravy, I've never been able to understand it. It's the breakfast version of shit on a shingle. And if you've never had shit on a shingle, you're probably too rich for me. You grew up with way too much money. Shit on a shingle is a poor kid's dish. And it was fucking vile. And that's what biscuits and gravy remind me of. And people will say to me frequently, well, have you ever had good homemade biscuits and gravy? You don't think I've had homemade biscuits and gravy? Okay, my family on my father's side hail from a small coal mining town in southern Indiana of about 5,000 people. Yeah, not only have I had homemade biscuits and gravy, I've had homemade biscuits and gravy like every morning for a month for breakfast. They all make it homemade down there. A lot of Amish folks running around. Now, it's I don't care if it's homemade, if it's store-bought, it's fucking trash. It's garbage. When I had my landscape company, when I was still in business before I retired, I had a gentleman, Kevin, worked for me. I had a couple Kevins, but I had a gentleman named Kevin worked for me, who used to get the biscuits and gravy from Casey's in the morning. Ooh. Oh my God! It came in like if you've never been to a Casey's, I'm trying to best describe it. Think of like the old Big Mac containers that were styrofoam. They were like clamshell, only it's plastic and completely see-through, right? So there's a bottom reservoir and then a top dome, right? And the bottom reservoir would just be fucking filled with this soupy gravy with a biscuit right in the middle of it. And I would almost throw up in the truck watching him eat this shit every morning. Now, I had another guy, Jimmy, that used to bring breakfast burritos from McDonald's. Ooh, those were brutal as well. But, yeah, I stand by what I said. You can come at me. Tell me why you like biscuits and gravy. I guess, where would you leave your comments? On the YouTube video? Or if you find the promo video on TikTok, I guess. Or on Facebook, if you find this on Facebook. Explain to me what's good about it. It doesn't have a good taste. It's got a very heavy aftertaste. It sits in you like 1,000-pound weight. It sogs really good biscuits down. That's the killer part about the whole fucking thing, is that the biscuits are really fucking good. I'm a big fan of biscuits. Give me a nice biscuit that's hot out of the oven with some melted butter on it, or better yet, put a little bit of strawberry jelly on it instead of the butter. I'm all game, all fucking day long. Popeyes has a killer fucking biscuit, right? Love biscuits. But why do you drown it in that shit? I don't get it. Anyway, that was like I said, on a fun note, the people came at me on TikTok for that one, telling me that them were fighting words and that it was unforgivable. Hey, then come at me. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not in too much of a laughable mood today. So I don't want to talk about too many fun things that happened on TikTok, but rather a lot of responses that I got for a video I did about Chick-fil-A and Hobby Lobby. I did a video about I was having a conversation with somebody in a comment section on a video on TikTok, and somebody asked me why I don't eat at Chick-fil-A or shop at Hobby Lobby, and I replied to them with a video reply. And the video reply, I guess, caught fire and got circled around something called gay talk. the gay community on TikTok. And I want to talk about the responses that I got to that, if I could. The first set of responses that I want to talk about on this video is the sheer volume of gay and lesbian people, or people of the alphabet mafia, is I guess they call themselves. Let me just stop everything for a minute, if I could. Let me explain to you where I am with homosexuality, so that everybody understands right off the bat. You see the video and you see that I'm an ally. I guess that's what it's called, an ally. Okay, I'm an ally. I don't give a shit who's gay. I don't give a shit who sleeps with who. I don't give a shit who marries who. When it comes to restrictions on adopting children, the only restriction I have is, are you good people? Are you going to give that child a loving home? I don't care if it's a gay couple, a lesbian couple. I don't care if it's 3 people married together. I don't fucking care. Are you good or are you bad? I don't give a shit how you have sex. I don't care. And I don't believe it's the government's responsibility to tell anybody who they are and are not allowed to get married to. So when it comes to the gay community, catching on to this video and calling me an ally, I guess in that respect I am an ally. I absolutely, I stay the fuck out of people's lives. Government, just stay the fuck out of their lives. It's not your place to tell her she can't marry her, or him he can't marry him. Now, you may hear that and go, wow, pretty progressive. You're 48, you're a little bit older, you're from Gen X, but that's a progressive view. Yeah, it still comes with confusion. Don't mistake that for me not being confused. Okay? I have a gay daughter who's 16. I have gay friends who I went to high school with. I know gay people in life. What I don't understand, and I'll admit it up front, and help me understand it, I guess, is the rest of the, what you guys call the alphabet mafia, right? So, the way I see it, the way I view it is, you either have sex with men, you have sex with women, or you have sex with both. Whether you're a man or a woman, doesn't matter. Now, I understand that there have become a lot more classifications. There are pan and cis, and I don't know them all. I'm admitting to you up front, I don't know them all. I'm trying to be as aware of all of this as possible. I'm trying to be as conscious of all of this as possible. But I don't know them all. And I don't know that off the top of my head, my initial knee-jerk reaction to hearing them, as I tend to hear them, is that I agree with all of them. What does that mean? There we go. What do you mean you agree with it? It's not for you to agree with. No, you do what you want to do. I'm not saying you can't do something, not by any stretch of the imagination. I'm agreeing with the need for all the different classifications, I guess. People say, okay, I don't see sexuality, so I could have sex with either a man or a woman because I don't view them as sexual and I don't view myself as sexual. Fine, awesome. I have no problem with that. But then you're bisexual, in my opinion, right? And maybe that's just me boiling it down to too much of a simplistic set of terminology, but that's the way I view it. Okay, then you're bisexual. That means you have sex with both man and woman. To me. And I don't give a shit that you do. Have sex with 10 men and 8 women. I don't care. I truly don't. Marry 10 women and 8 women. I don't care. I just don't comprehend the full range of the alphabet, right? To me, it boils down to either I have sex with the opposite sex, I have sex with the same sex, or I have sex with both sexes. To me, I'm just more of a simplistic kind of guy that way. Having said all of that, one of the responses I get from the members of the Alphabet Mafia on TikTok that really blew me away, I mean, really made me just really stop and think about it, is the sheer volume of gay and lesbian people that say something to the effect of, oh my God, will you adopt me? My father doesn't understand. My father's not as open-minded. My father kicked me out of the house. My father told me I was a disgrace. And I didn't realize how widespread that was. I went and talked to my daughter about it. I go, is this common in the gay community? Because it's a very, very common gay thing to say. It really kind of blew me away. I made a video message to fathers of gay kids, telling them to stop ruining their kids' lives. I made another video saying that, yeah, anybody in the alphabet mafia whose parents or grandparents turn their back on them and are looking to be ceremoniously adopted into a family, you're welcome here. I don't know what else to say other than I don't know how you turn your back on your own for something like that. You know, and if any of the parents of gay kids are out there listening to this, it's your kid didn't come to you and say that, hey, Dad, I got 6 bodies hanging upside down in my basement, right? Yeah, I went on a killing spree and I've got 6 bodies hanging in my basement. What do I do? You know, I can understand you feeling some kind of way about that, about your kid. I take my kids to the authorities too. We got to get this straightened out. You can't just let this go. But that's not what they did. They didn't tell you that they killed 6 people in 5 states. They didn't tell you that they ran a bus full of nuns off the road. They didn't tell you that they ritualistically skinned squirrels in the forest preserve on Saturday night. They came to you and said, Dad, Mom, I love that person. That's it. That's all they said. And you blew a fucking gasket over it. You ostracized them. You ridiculed them. You yelled at them. You threw them out of your house. You cut them out of the family. For that. They didn't steal from you. They didn't burn the house down. They didn't run up your credit. They loved somebody. When you think about the insanity of a response so vile as you disgust me, get out of my house, when your own child tells you how they love another human being, it almost becomes incomprehensible. You can't even fit it in the normal mind. It's egregiously vile to say that to your own kid. So yeah, all you TikTokers and gay talk that find yourself finding my video and saying to me in some way, shape, or form, oh my God, will you adopt me? My dad this, my grandpa this. Yeah, you're in the family. Come on, you're in the family. You are unofficially, ceremoniously, digitally adopted. You're a Powell. Okay? From this day forward, you call yourself a Powell. All right, you're in the family. I don't know where we're going to put everybody up. We've only got the 4 bedrooms here. We'll figure something out. Everybody's going to have to do a load of towels once in a while because we're going to be going through them like a motherfucker. And just to let everybody know, in the Alphabet Mafia, if you're coming into the family here, we've got 2 Labrador Retrievers and 5 cats. You will be given a spot on the rotation to scoop litter boxes and feed animals. It's a lot to take care of here. I'm a big pet guy, and I kind of went overboard with the cats. So, welcome to the family. We are a 420 friendly family, as long as you're of legal age. We listen to a lot of music in the family. Yeah, you're in. Sure, you're a Powell. I don't understand how people turn their back on their kids so quickly. I don't get it. I don't get it. But then again, I don't get a lot of the things that have been going on for the past 4 years. The past 4 years have been a whirlwind, right? They've been some of the hardest from a social aspect in my lifetime. Now, I had a pretty easy social path in life, right? When you look at my era, I was born in May of 1972, right? So my first experience was in the mid to late 70s. I then grew up in the 80s, became a young adult, and hit the road in the 90s. Made my mark in life. There wasn't much that was. We didn't have the civil rights movement. We didn't have the Vietnam War to fight against, right? In the 70s, it was a transition from Carter. When I was born, we had Watergate, so that was the big scandal. But I was a baby. Then we had Carter. We went into the Reagan years. Then we had all of the Reagan era scandals, and we had the Cold War. But then from there, we kind of leveled out, right? We really had it pretty good. The Cold War was minimal to us, right? There were some nuclear scares, but nothing that made us run for the bunker. And then we got into the Clinton years, and we had peace and we had prosperity, and why everybody had a job, right? I mean, we were adding jobs left and right. The economy was growing like fucking crazy. Everybody was getting extra cheese on their Whoppers because everybody had the extra money. And that went well until Bush came in. And then we had the big event of my life, right? We had 9/11. And 9/11 really changed the way the country viewed damn near fucking everything. And in order to get away from that kind of mentality, we went with Obama. And we had some really great fucking years under Obama. But because there is so much racism in the right wing of this country, and keep in mind, I am not saying every Republican or conservative is a racist, but what I am saying is racism is predominant on that side of the political aisle. It's just a fact. There are a ton of racists in the Republican Party, in the conservative movement. And they could not handle the fact that Obama became president. They just couldn't. So they viewed him as far left solely based on the color of his skin. And in response to that, they pegged far right and they brought in Trump. Now, they started pegging far right well before Trump, right? McCain unleashed the first Kraken on us. He gave us Palin. And we got the Palin soccer moms for the first time. And this is where I think we go back. So we go back to Reagan and Bush, and we get a lot of the religious people, right? The religious right elected Reagan. The religious right elected Bush. When you get into the Palin, not only do you have the religious right, but you have the hardcore religious right, the conspiracy-driven religious right. And they're the ones that formed the Tea Party to go after Obama based on their misconceptions on his policies and their forgetfulness on how much Republicans run the debt and deficit up. And then when that wasn't crazy enough, when having Caribou Barbie shooting moose from a helicopter wasn't crazy enough to take out the left and their Obama machine, they ushered in Donald fucking Trump. And I got to be honest with you, as I sit here in the post-Trump days, I'm still gobsmacked that anyone ever voted for that man. And I mean anyone. First of all, I would dare contend that if you went back in time 5 years before the 2016 election, 10 years before the 2016 election, and you found every single person that wound up voting for Trump in the 2016 election, every single person that wound up saying, Trump train, baby, woo woo. If you could go back 5, 10 years, 15 years, and ask them, would you vote for Donald Trump? I would almost guarantee you that 100% of them would say, not a chance in hell. And it's not like it's a hypothetical, right? Trump's been around. He's been in the limelight. He's been in the spotlight. People knew who he was. In the 80s, he was one of the biggest fucking names in America, right? We knew who Trump was. Everybody in the fucking world knew who Trump was. So if you went back 5 or 10 years before the 2016 election and you asked them if they would vote for Donald Trump, they would have already known who he was, and they would have told you not a fuck. Are you kidding me? The guy on TV? The guy who bankrupted casinos? The orange guy who thinks he's a playboy? Who cheats on his wives? Nah, not a chance in hell I would ever elect that guy. But their hatred over Hillary Clinton was so profound, was so deep, was so ingrained, that that's what they did. They voted for Donald fucking Trump. A man that did, in fact, bankrupt multiple casinos, which is next to impossible to do. A man who cheated on all of his wives, and all of his antics were always in the paper. A man who had bankruptcy after bankruptcy after bankruptcy after bankruptcy that were public fucking knowledge. A man who mocked the disabled, who called for the execution of innocent black boys in New York City. A man whose family has zero history of military service. Zero. Going all the way back. There is not one Trump who has ever served. A man who brags about gold toilets and private jets got trailer trash from the redneck Riviera to place him on an idol and make him their messiah. He is the greatest con man in American history. He's the most successful grifter this country has ever seen. And he got 74 million marks to fall for his shit. He got you guys to give him his money, your money, so that he could use it for his legal defense. Tens, hundreds of millions of your dollars are going to be used to fly him around the country and defend him in court. And the grift still goes on to this day, ladies and gentlemen. To this day, listen to me. There is an office. So Trump is now out of office and he's back at Mar-a-Lago, which is in Palm Beach, right? He's got, I think it's Palm Beach. He's got an office down there in town by Mar-a-Lago. Trump does. He set up an office, and it's called the Executive Office of the President of the United States. He is pretending like he's still the fucking president, and he's getting these fucking slack-jawed yokels to send him fucking money. You know what this is? This is equivalent to the religious scam artist who preys on the old people. Have you ever seen those, the seed money people? The people who say, you send me $100 and I'm going to prey on that money. And in time, you're going to have $100,000. Seed money. So you got to send the fucking scam artist your hard-earned money for him to live off of so he can seed it so you can make more down the road. That's what this is, only a political version of it. And these fucking yahoos are, click, click, where do I write the check, Donnie? It's fucking stunning to me. The dude's brought in almost $300 million since losing the election. Totally not a cult. Totally not a cult. So I go on TikTok and I yell and scream about it and I make videos about it. And then I get Trumpers that come and find me because my videos get stuck in Trump talk. And I wind up arguing and making reply videos to them and their idiotic statements. Okay, guys, here's some cold hard truths. You guys need to start realizing this, okay? Trump lost the election. He lost the popular vote twice. He lost the Electoral College once. He is no longer the president. There is no corporation of the United States and real United States. London does not own the United States, and no, Trump is not being sworn in as the 9th president of the real United States on March 4th. That's fucking lunacy. That's not reality. Some more realistic terms for you to deal in, okay? Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's coming to overturn the results. Those of you who were in the Capitol building on January 6th, you are going to prison. The adults are running the show now. It is now President Biden's administration. And for those of you misogynistic, racist assholes, yes, we have a woman of color as the vice president. About fucking time. And that is going to chap the fuck out of all your asses for the better part of 4 fucking years minimum. Minimum. Yes, a woman of color is second in line to the presidency. Sleep on that, you racist sack of shit. As the father of 2 daughters, I am fucking ecstatic that we finally have a woman somewhere in the White House. I tried my best to get Hillary in there first, but her emails. Yeah. We let a private server tank the potential presidency of who has quite possibly been the single most qualified candidate in my lifetime. But we got a woman in the vice presidency, and if I'm going to be completely honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, we need to give the federal government to the women for at least a couple of decades. I'm talking female president, female vice president, female Congress, female Supreme Court, female federal judiciary. We need to give this country to the women to run for a few decades. How could you say that you're a man? Because I have eyes, because I can see results. And while men have done some good and great things over the years, a lot more has been fucked up. It is 2020, and we are still having conversations as to whether or not gay people can get married and women can have medical procedures that they decide to have. Sorry, it's 2021, and we're still having that same fucking conversation. Clearly, we're not getting it, guys. Let's let them run it for a while, and I guarantee you're going to see the floor rise. Give it a shot. Who do you trust in your house more, your mom or your dad? Now, for me, it was my dad, because my mom was a psycho. But by and large, who do you trust more, your mom or your dad? In times of need, who do you go to first, your mom or your dad? That's what I'm saying. Let's give that a shot on a national level. So we're sitting here in the post-Biden or the post-Trump era. We now have female vice president. We've got President Biden. We're undoing some of the extraordinarily dangerous and harmful executive orders that Cheeto McFuckstick left behind. We're actually negotiating with Congress instead of dictating to them from a golf course. We're leading. We're listening to scientists. And all of that ushers in this new era. And that's why I decided this was the best time to bring this podcast back. I'm going to start talking about politics on the podcast. Let's bring it back after we get rid of Cheeto McFuckstick, and we can start talking about how we put our country back together, how we all grow as a people once again. And we got a lot of fucking work to do, people. We got a lot of fucking work to do. A whole lot of fucking work to do. I know people personally. I know them. I've had them in my house that I now see support on their social media pages, support the actions on January 6th. Disgusted by that. No, it's too important to turn our back on anymore. We have too much fucking work to do. We have a lot of damage to undo. We have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of children who have been separated from their families, and we have no way of tracking down their families. We have a lot of fucking work to do. We have a stolen Supreme Court and federal judiciary that is poised to make horrendous decisions when it comes to women's reproductive rights and gay rights in this country. We have a lot of work to do. We have an eroded infrastructure in our institutions, a hollowed out State Department, a hollowed out Department of Justice, a hollowed out this, a hollowed out that. We have a lot of fucking work to do. I'm going to keep talking to you about weird shit like getting a prostate exam or somebody taking a shit into a convertible from a traffic light arm. But we're also going to talk about these subjects too. And as long as I have a platform, and I'm nobody special, but as long as I have a platform, as long as I have a voice, as long as I have some kind of an outlet like this, then I'm going to fight for a woman's right to choose. It's not your fucking body. You don't get a choice. I'm going to fight for a gay person's right to get married to whoever the fuck they want to get married to adopt children, providing that they are good people and show that they can give that child a loving home. I'm going to fight to expand legal immigration and give a pathway to citizenship to the illegal immigrants who are already here and a part of our country, a backbone part of our country. I'm going to keep using my voice and my platform to speaking out against cops who continue to murder unarmed civilians, specifically unarmed people of color, specifically unarmed black men in this country. I'm going to keep speaking out about Republican hypocrisy. Republican hypocrisy that explodes and balloons the debt and deficit when they're in power, but all of a sudden they remember their fiscal roots and their fiscal conservatism when a Democrat is in power. I'm going to continue to use my platforms to talk about how we fucked up this response to the COVID pandemic and how we need to get it right. I'm going to continue to use my platform to talk about the legalization of marijuana on the federal level. So that's how this podcast is going to go moving forward. We're going to try and do one every week like we did before. Every Friday, a new podcast. Sprinkle in some funny stories. Sprinkle in some news topics of the week, whatever happened. And now that Trump's out of office, we're going to try our very, very best to cut off the oxygen to that beast. He's out of social media. He's out of the spotlight. We're going to try not to talk about it. If he pops up on a rally that winds up on the news and he says something stupid, we'll discuss it. Otherwise, we're going to focus on how to move everything forward and the obstruction that's coming from the other side in Congress. We're going to talk about Mitch McConnell. We're going to talk about Rafael Cruz. We're going to talk about all of these fucking Republican seditious, treasonous scumbags who are trying to already block the Biden agenda. We're going to talk about QAnon Republican members of Congress and why they need to go ASAP. And we're going to continue to talk about all of this as we storm right through the next 2 years and right in to the midterm elections, and hopefully we're going to get a bigger majority in the House and the Senate in the 2022 midterm elections. So I say it on my videos from time to time. I'm going to say it here to any Trumpers who are listening or watching me on YouTube. Buckle up, Buttercup. It's going to be a long fucking 4 years. You guys gave us fucking hell for 4 fucking years. You rammed through judges. You ran executive orders up the flagpole and saluted them as if they were fucking God every time Trump did them. You're in for a long 4 years. Trust me when I tell you that Biden, Pelosi, Harris, and Schumer know exactly why we gave them all 3 branches of the government. They know exactly what we are expecting from them. And they are going to do it. They are going to enact this agenda. And every time the Republicans try to call that shit out or block that shit or obstruct that shit, I'll be right here calling it out to as many people who are willing to listen, whether that's 1 person a week, 100 person a week, or 1,000 people a week. I don't fucking care. I'm going to keep speaking my fucking mind because I live in a free fucking country, and I am sick and fucking tired of fascists trying to take over the conversation and now literally trying to take over my government. You don't get to tell me that my vote doesn't count. You don't get to tell me that you're just going to go hang the people I voted for and install the people you want. No. You talk about how you declared war. We have the levers of power, and you declared political war. So now we're going to use all of our voices in conjunction to push forward our agenda. It's our turn at the table. Turn at the table. So, welcome back to the podcast. Welcome to the new second half podcast. I know it was a little bit more serious and a little bit maybe more dark than normal, than what you might probably expecting. But welcome to all my newly adopted gay and lesbian sons and daughters. You're welcome to the Powell family. By the way, the animals, the dogs are Bonnie and Clyde. And the cats are, we have Freddie Mercury, Sergeant Pepper, Franklin, who's named after the Grateful Dead song Franklin's Tower, and then there's Ozzy Osbourne and Eddie Murphy. So you get to know the names. My daughters are Magnolia and Lily. My son is Tommy. My wife is Renee. Make yourself at home. We're back. We're better than ever before, and we're going to tweak this format until we get it right, and we are going to keep calling out the bullshit until we drive the bullshit back underground where it belongs. I thank you guys very much for listening this week. I will have a new episode for you next week. This is normally where there would be an outro song. There will not be one this week. There won't be one until I get the new music from the guy. But when I get it, trust me, you're going to like it. I think you're going to like it. If you like rock, you're going to like it. So, as always, stay grateful. And until next week, hang loose.